Welcome back to another construct video, and in this video I want to show you my version of the popular game Sporcle. This is where you get a category, in this case name the original 151 Pokemon, and when you type them in it takes them off the list and it counts the words down. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is just click anywhere. Go to the properties, change the size to be 854 by 480. This is changing the whole layout size to the camera size, so we're working always in this one area. Now before we add any elements to our layout, the first thing we're going to do is actually set up our list of items. Now the way that we do this is we're going to right click, insert new object, and we're going to add an array and press insert. We're then going to also right click, insert object. We'll go down until we see the object called Ajax. Both of these are going to be useful. We're not going to use them just now, but we'll get them set up ready. Final thing we're going to do is just right click on Files, New, and then Array. This will now give us access to write down the different objects that we want. The only thing that we need to change is the height. So if we want 10 different items, we could write these in. If we want more than that, we can write more. In my case, I'm going to have 151 for the 151 different Pokemon. Now in order to put your data into this array, what I actually recommend is setting it up on Excel first. You might be able to even download an Excel file that has them all on. And then you can copy and paste it straight into Construct, nice and easy. Making sure before you copy and paste it that your height is set up correctly. Once that's done, we can go back to our layout. We can now start adding in the objects that we need. So object number one that we're going to do is we're just going to scroll down and just grab a text box. And this is going to be our title. So what are we trying to do? So we can click anywhere. Place this in the top left. Start by writing your title out. So in my case, it's name all of the original 151 Pokemon. And again, just change the size to be something that is more suitable for your needs. So in my case, I'm going 35. And then if you really want, you can even change the font to be something a little bit more exciting than our standard font of Arial. And then just press OK. Next, we need a way for the user to write. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to grab the input box. There we go, text input. And we're going to write this as user input. Click and make this nice and big, nice big area to write in, like so. Next, we might as well add in how many words we've got left to find. So again, this is just going to be another text box and words left text. Click, place at the bottom. Again, change the size if you want, so I'll change this to 25. I'm also going to put in what I want the default text for this to be. I know this value will change, but it just gives me an idea about how big to make my text box. So words left colon 0. And then I know if my text box is big enough or not. That's definitely not big enough, so I'm just going to bring that all the way over like so. Final thing that we need then is just a text box, and we're going to use this to actually hold the value of every single Pokemon or every item in our list if you're doing a different category. Go into text and call this hidden answer. Click and just place this up in the top left. Now again, you can decide on how big you want the font to be and how far across you want it to be. But what we're going to do is set this up to a scroll bar so we can scroll up and down the list if you've got too many items for the screen. So that's pretty much our layout complete. So we can now move over to our event sheet and start adding in our first bits of code. First thing I'm going to do is just add a global variable. I'm just going to call it words left. And this will be a number. We'll start it at 0. And what we'll do is we'll get the number from the array instead of us having to change the number each time. We're going to add an event system. Scroll down and on start with layout. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to make use of Ajax. We're going to request a project file, and the file that we want to request is the new array JSON that we created. You might also want to rename that file to be Pokemon.json or listofcountries.json, whatever your category is, and you can have multiple JSON files, so you could actually set this up to work with multiple categories. In terms of tag, I'm just going to keep it just as it is, and then I'm going to add a new event, this time with our Ajax. On complete, the tag will be the same, so again, I've not changed my tag, so I'll just keep it the same there. And then on complete, we're going to go to our array, scroll down, load, And for this, we're going to type in ajax.lastData. So all this is doing is taking all of that big file that we did, so this one here, and then just putting it inside an array that we can manipulate and use later on. So we're actually going to destroy the hidden words first of all, so we're destroying this. And again, by having a default one here, it means that all the properties we set for this one, we carried on to all the new ones we create after that. Next, we can add a new action. We're going to go to System, Set Value, and we might as well set the words left. And this is just going to be array.height. And after we set the new value for words left, we can also change the text. So I'm just going to go into words left text, scroll down, set text, and in the speech marks, I'm going to type in words left, just like I did before, colon, close to speech marks, add the and sign, and then use the variable of words left. Now we need to actually generate 151 question marks for the 151 Pokemon that we need to guess. So to do this, we're just going to right click, add either a sub event or a blank sub event, just like so. We're then going to go to System, scroll down until we see the word repeat. I'm going to repeat for the array.height. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually create 151 text boxes with question marks in for the 151 Pokemon, or if you've got less categories, if you've got maybe 100 objects you have to guess, it will generate 100 boxes. So I'm going to click on Hidden Answer on the right side first, make note of the position, so 585 by 9, it doesn't matter if this is not exact, this is just where the first one's going to start. So my first one will start in the same place as this one will, remembering that we're deleting this one. So I'm going to go back to my event sheet, System, create object, and then I'm going to create my hidden answer. Layer 0 is absolutely fine because we've only got one layer, and this will be 585, and then for Y it'll be 9. Now obviously we want to create multiple of these, we don't want them always in the same place. So for the Y we're just going to do add, in brackets, loop index, times, and then we'll take our hidden answer dot height. Close brackets and hit done. Next we're going to add an action, and this is going to be for the hidden answer we've just created. Scroll down, I'm going to set the text. And this is going to be the loop index. The loop index is just how many times we've repeated so far. So it's going to start at 0. So I'm just going to add 1 to that. So the first value always starts at 1. Add the and sign. And then we're just going to put dot, space, question mark, question mark, question mark. This is what the text will be for all 151. Now we also need to actually store what the correct answer is. So we're just going to right click on our hidden answer here. And we're actually going to introduce our first instance variables. So the first one that we're going to include is the answer. This is going to be a string, and initial value is going to be nothing. I'm just going to add a second instance variable. I'm just going to call this number. I'm going to store what number this one belongs to. For instance, Bulbasaur's number 1, and you would be 151. So we're just going to store that value as well. So going back to our code here, we can now add an action. We can go back to our hidden answer. We need to start setting these values. So we'll start by setting the value of answer. And for this, we're going to actually do lowercase. This means that if you write an answer in uppercase or lowercase, we're always going to translate all down to lowercase. Then we're going to take our array.at. The first one is going to be 0 because we've only got one column, which is column 0. And the second one will be loop index. And then just close the second bracket for the lowercase. So now we're storing the correct answer as a variable attached to every text box, but this won't be visible to the user. When they get the answer correct, we'll get rid of the question marks and we'll put the correct answer in its place. We also need to do the same for the number then, so add action, hidden answer, scroll down, just set the value of number, and again this is just going to be loop index plus 1. So let's do a quick test. I'm just going to hit play, and there we go, we've got our big list of the different Pokemon. So one of the issues that we've got is we can actually only see the first 16 Pokemon, and 16 is not a huge list to see either. Most Sporcle categories are beyond 16, so we need a way to actually scroll down to see all the different objects on our list. So we're back on our layout 1, we're going to insert a new object. We're going to go down to sprites, and we're going to call this scroll. Click, and we're just going to fill this in with a color of your choice. And the most important thing is we go to the image point. I'm going to put it at the very top. I'm also just going to make sure this is in the center, so 1250. Next, I'm going to move this to the top where my text is. I'm going to right click and send it to the bottom layer. And then I just want to make sure it is covering my text, but only just, almost like a background color for that text box only. And then we can right click on our hidden text, and we're just going to add a behavior to this. And the behavior that we want is the pin behavior. So we can actually pin it onto the scroll bar. We're then going to go to the event sheet. I'm going to add in 2 new events. The first one is actually going to be on the scroll bar itself. I'm going to scroll down and go for the option of set height. And this is going to be scroll.height, so what the current height is, plus, and then we'll do our hidden answer.height as well. Then we're going to add another action. This is going to be on our hidden answer. I'm going to make use of that new behavior, which is going to pin to object and scroll. And press OK, and then done. Going back to our layout once more, we're just going to right click on scroll, edit behaviors. I'm going to add the drag and drop behavior, so it's just there. And on our drag and drop, we're going to change one property, which is the axes. We're going to change it from both to vertical only, and then hit play. So now we've got our list just like before, but now we can scroll up and down the list. Now there's one issue with this that we need to fix. If I scroll all the way down, you can see that our list can go off the screen. So what I want to do is limit it so it can't go any lower than this current position. And on the flip side, if we were to scroll all the way down, we can't make it go all the way to the top of the screen and go off the screen. So we're going to add an event. We're going to go to our scroll, go down to compare Y, and we're just going to see if at any point it's greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, we're just going to add an action to our scroll. We're going to set the Y coordinates to be -1. This might seem a bit odd, it's just where our image point is, but this will mean that it's stuck at the top. On the flip side, we're going to add a new one on our scroll once again. Scroll down, compare Y. I'm going to check now if it is less than or equal to. And we're going to do minus scroll.height plus the layout height. We're then going to add an action onto our scroll, and just again we're going to reset the Y coordinates if it ever goes past these boundaries, and this is just going to be the same again, so minus scroll.height plus the layout height plus 1 just being our little bit of buffer, which is why we've done -1 here. Run it once again. Now if I try and scroll down, I can't, and if I quick scroll the other way, now you see I'm at the bottom, I can't actually scroll up anymore. So it's now locked in this sort of window pane. Good. Let's move on to actually guessing Pokemon's names then. So we're going to start by adding an event. We're going to go to user input, and we're going to this very bottom option that's on text changed. So every time we're typing, we can actually run some code to see what's going on. Now I'm not actually going to add an action yet, so we're actually going to add a function that will then put that function as the action. And the function is just going to be called check answer. For this function, we're just going to right click, add, and add a blank sub event, double click, go to system, scroll down, and we want this for each. And we want to check every single hidden answer against the value that the user has inputted. So we need to add one more condition to this. So we're going to add another condition. Go to hidden answer, compare instance variable. We're going to do lowercase. So again, we changed the answer to lowercase beforehand. So no matter what the user types now, this will be lowercase as well. So it's easy to check if they match up. And we're just going to do the user input dot text. So have any of those question marks got a variable attached to it, which is the same answer that the user's typed in? If so, we can add some actions. So first one we're going to do is we're going to take our hidden answer. We're going to scroll down and set the text. Now this is going to first take in the hidden answer dot number, so we can save that number, so it's still going to be 1 dot Bulbasaur instead of just Bulbasaur. And then we're going to add our and sign, add in some speech marks, so we start with dot, space, close the speech marks and add the and sign. This just puts a bit of space between our number and our answer. And then hidden answer dot answer, just like so. So now if you get it right, it will actually show the correct answer. We need to do a couple of things before we continue though. So we're going to go back to our hidden answer. And the first one's we actually need to set the value of our answer to be something else. Because if you type in Bulbasaur again, or Mew or Mewtwo, or whatever category you're doing, this code will still activate and we don't want that. So what we actually need to do is actually put a value that the user will not guess. And the easiest way to do this is set it to pi. There's no way the user is going to write out the full number of pi. It's impossible to. So this fixes our code. Probably not the most elegant solution, but I quite like it, it works. So we're going to hit done. Then we're going to add another action. We're going to go to our user input this time. We're going to scroll down to set text, and we're going to just leave it blank, just like so. So after they get the answer right, it will remove their answer and then show the correct answer on the right side, just speeding the game up a little bit. We can also add an action to our hidden answer, or we can actually change the font color. This is just a nice quality of life change, and by changing the color to be green and then hit done, we can then add a small pause. I've done 2 seconds in my example, but you can play around with this. And then we can make it go back to its original color. So it just flashes to the user going, look, I've changed. I'm the one that's changed. So again, just going back to our hidden answer, set font color, and again, we'll put it back to its original color. Final thing we need to do that I've missed is we're just going to add an action, system, subtract from, and words left by 1. And again, this should really happen before our wait of 2 seconds. And then we also actually need to change our text box to show this as well. Now we've already done this once before, so we're just going to go up to where we did this. So words left, copy that and put it below. Again, just showing the user how many words they've got left. You can then take that information of, I've got 0 words left. That means they must have beaten the game. Move on to the next level. Finally, we're just going back to line 6, and on text changed, we can actually run our function now, which is check answer, and we can do our next test. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm actually going to show you a way that we can make it so it automatically clicks on this box for us at the start. But if I start by typing in Bulbasaur, it will flash up green, Charizard, Charmander, they all come up. One of the issues that we've got though is if we do someone like Mew, you'll see the words left has gone down. If we were to scroll down, it's definitely been ticked off, but we can't see that. So what we want to add is every time we guess a Pokemon correct, it jumps to that part of the list. This surprisingly is quite tricky and one of the things that took the longest when making this. As we're dragging this up and down, we're actually moving the Y coordinates of all these text boxes. So we can't just jump to the Y coordinate of these text boxes. It just wouldn't work. So we need to come up with a slightly different solution. So what we're going to do is right click, add a global variable called last word. And this is just going to be a string, and we're just going to press OK on it. And that can stay at the top here. Next, we're going to add an action. We're going to go to system, and we're going to set the value of last word. And this is going to be hidden word, or hidden answer, sorry, dot text. And it's really important that this happens after this line of code. It could happen down here, probably before the 2 seconds would be great, but it definitely needs to happen after we've set the text. After that, we can add an event on our hidden answer, and there should be an option to compare text. And the text we want to compare it to is last word. So this is going to bring back exactly one of our text boxes, and it's going to be the one that matches up with the last answer we've entered. I'm going to right click, and we just need another condition on this. And I'm going to scroll down to is outside layout. So is it on the screen, yes or no? We can then right click, and we need to add a blank sub event to this. So the first thing that we're going to do is do hidden answer, compare Y, and we're going to check if it is greater than the layout height. Checking actually, is it below or above the screen at the moment? If so, we're going to add an action, scroll, and we're going to get it to set Y, and this is going to be scroll dot Y minus 150, and you can play around with this number. Found 150 worked quite well when I was doing my testing. We can then copy and paste this, and this time we're going to check if it is less than, and we're going to go 0, and this time we're going to add 150. So what's going to happen is if we guess a word like mu and it's not on the screen, it will work out if mu is on top of the screen or below the screen. In this case, it will be below the screen, so it will scroll down to mu and have it on the screen. And then if we type in something like Charmander, it will see that it's above the screen, so it will scroll back up. The only issue with this is happening all the time until we guess our next word. And we might want to just drag up and down the list to see what we've got left. So we can fix this really quickly by just adding a quick event to our scroll. And we're just looking for the on drag start. Add an action, system, set the value of last word back to blank. So as soon as we want to drag ourselves, it's no longer going to try and jump. And that is pretty much it. The last change I want to just quickly show you is how to make it so it's going to focus that text box at the start. So on start of layout, just add an action and go to user inputs and then just set focused. And that's it. Let's do our test. So we'll start with mu. It's going to scan right to the bottom. You see there is a bit of an animation which might be a little bit jarring, but it's good enough in my mind. We've got Charmander, Diglett, we've got Eevee. So it's jumping around to the correct part of the list, and then if we want, we could even scan through it ourselves to see which ones we're missing. You can even set this up to the mouse scroll wheel or up and down. And then the example that I will leave on the Google Drive as always, if you want to try this out for yourself, I've just added in a bit of a background to it as well, just to make it stand out and change some of the fonts a bit more. Just quickly before we end then, I know one of the questions I might get in the comments is, how do I apply this to multiple categories in the same game? So I've got two buttons set up, Pokemon and States of America. I've got two different files, Pokemon.json and States.json. And I've set up a brand new layout with a brand new event sheet. So going into my original event sheet, what I'm going to actually do is delete this Ajax code that says request Pokemon.json. And I'm going to change this on array complete to on start of layout instead. So scrolling down to on start of layout. In either this file or the other event sheet, I'm also going to add in a global variable. And this is going to be JSON text. And just make sure this is a string. So on layout 2, I've got two buttons. These are individual buttons, so button Pokemon, button States, just placed here. Obviously we could add a fancy title to this, lay them out. We could even make these sprites instead. All I'm going to do is event sheet 2, add an event. I'm going to do button Pokemon on clicked, add an event. I'm then going to do Ajax.request project file and make sure I change that to Pokemon.json. I might also want to add a tag here called Pokemon. And then Ajax on completes. Again, typing in that same tag of Pokemon, making sure it's got the same capitalization. And this time we're just going to do system.setValue of JSON text to Ajax last data. And then we can go to layout 2, and then we'll just repeat that code for the different ones. So go to layout 1 in my case, and then you just copy and paste these 2 lines of code for every single button. And then you've got the option to change from Pokemon to States of America to Flags of the World to any random Sporcle category you'd like. But that's it for today. Let me know what you think of this project. Are you a fan of Sporcle? Are you going to try this one out? There'll be a link in the description for my project, and I'll see you in the next video.